Years before his name was whispered in police files and courtrooms, the world of outlaw motorcycle gangs ran on simple rules: fear, muscle, and brute force. Power was loud, violent, and obvious. However, true power does not always announce itself with chaos. Sometimes it moves silently, carried by patience, calculation, and ruthless intelligence. In that brutal underworld, few men reshaped the balance of control as completely as Necati Arabaci. To the world, the Hells Angels were once a symbol of raw rebellion. Leather jackets, roaring engines, and brutal street fights. But behind that image, a transformation was taking place. A transformation engineered by one man who understood that real power is not about noise, it is about control. Hells Angels, before Necati Arabaci. For years, the Hells Angels had thrived on a simple formula: loyalty, fear, and brotherhood. Born in post-war America, the club carried a reputation built on leather jackets, roaring Harleys, and a culture that rejected authority. In Europe, the Angels were feared, but they were also predictable. What the Hells Angels did not have was the sophistication of modern crime. They had muscle, but not structure. They had fear, but not strategy. This would soon be taken advantage of by a man who saw opportunity where others saw only chaos. Necati Arabaci was never just another gangster. Born in Turkey and brought up in Germany, he developed a reputation very different from the average street criminal. He was calm where others were reckless, strategic where others acted on emotions, patient where others were impulsive. Arabaci built his early empire in Cologne. He ran nightclubs, protection rackets, and underground businesses. He knew something crucial: violence opens doors, but organization keeps them open. Unlike traditional biker leaders, Arabaci thought like a businessman. He analyzed systems, finances, and power. To him, criminal power was not about who was the loudest, it was about who controlled the system. And he had his eyes on the Hells Angels, how he joined and changed the Hells Angels. Instead of challenging the club, he networked within it. Through money, influence, and fear, he placed loyal associates into key chapters across Germany. Gradually, the culture of the organization began to shift. Under Arabaci's influence, the Hells Angels evolved. Street-level chaos was replaced with discipline. Random violence turned into planned operations. Local gangs evolved into a global powerhouse. Drug trafficking, extortion, money laundering, and human trafficking were now organized with business-like precision. The biker image was still there, but behind it stood a modern criminal organization. By the early 2000s, investigators realized something alarming. The Hells Angels were no longer just bikers. They had become something far more dangerous, and Necati Arabaci was right in the middle of it all. His arrest in 2002 revealed the size of his empire, but even prison could not erase his power. The system he built was already too strong. A new era of the Hells Angels, the Arabaci effect. When Necati Arabaci officially aligned himself with the Hells Angels, the club quietly entered a new and far darker chapter. What had once been seen as a rebellious biker fraternity suddenly began to show signs of something more calculated, more structured, and far more dangerous. Law enforcement across Europe started noticing a shift, not in the logo on the jackets, but in the way the organization operated. By the late 1990s, German authorities began noticing a striking pattern. Rival biker gangs and street crews who had once operated freely were suddenly being pushed to the sidelines. One notorious example involved the small but bold Red Wolves gang in Cologne, who tried to expand into Arabaci-controlled nightlife districts. Within weeks, their clubs were suddenly shuttered, key members faced violent intimidation, and their supply chains were cut off. Word on the streets was clear: the Hells Angels, under Arabaci's influence, no longer competed. They dictated the terms. Protection rackets became more organized, cash flowed efficiently through controlled venues, and any opposition that dared resist faced swift and decisive consequences. Investigators began to realize that the Angels were no longer reacting to rivals' moves. They were setting the agenda, turning formerly chaotic neighborhoods into a network of controlled territory, inside prison walls. How Necati Arabaci continued to pull the strings behind bars. Most criminals see their world shrink to concrete cells, scheduled meals, and locked doors. But not Necati Neko Arabaci. Even after his dramatic arrest and conviction in Germany in 2004 on charges including pimping, human trafficking, assault, extortion, weapons violations, and racketeering, Arabaci's influence didn't simply vanish with his freedom. In fact, his time in prison became another chapter in a decades-long saga of organized crime dominance that law enforcement found incredibly difficult to dismantle. One of the most chilling episodes of his prison years came when authorities uncovered a plot allegedly ordered from behind bars. Arabaci had reportedly tried to hire a hitman to eliminate the prosecutor who helped convict him. The plan was stopped only because investigators had secretly bugged his conversations. The message was clear: prison walls could hold his body, but not his power. When Germany deported him to Turkey in 2007, it was meant to sever his grip on European organized crime. Yet, even after his removal, law enforcement believed his networks in Germany continued to function, guided by the structure he had put in place years earlier. Arabaci had proven something rare and dangerous. He was a man prison could confine, but never silence. His life. Now Necati Arabaci no longer walks the streets of Germany. After serving part of his sentence, he was deported to Turkey. Officially, he is a businessman. Unofficially, many believe his influence never truly went away. His organizations continue to operate seamlessly, his networks remain active, and his allies carry out his strategies as if he were still at the helm. Reports suggest that even from afar, Arabaci's guidance shapes decisions within the Hells Angels European chapters. From enforcement tactics to business operations, investigators have noted that new recruits are often groomed to follow the systems he put in place, ensuring that his vision endures. Even behind prison walls or across borders, his name commands respect and fear alike. A testament to a man whose empire was built not just on power, but on structure that could survive any obstacle. Since his deportation to Turkey, Necati Arabaci has embraced a quieter, more private life, far removed from the chaos of European biker streets. Friends and associates describe a man who is disciplined and strategic even in his play, maintaining connections through discreet channels while avoiding the spotlight. Though the thrill of direct control and street-level power is behind him, Arabaci's personal life reflects the same calculated precision that defined his rise: measured, controlled, and always keeping one eye on the empire he built. Necati Arabaci did not simply join the Hells Angels, he transformed them. He replaced impulsive violence with strategic planning, turned a rebellious subculture into a corporate-style syndicate, and proved that the most dangerous criminals are not the loudest, but the smartest. The Hells Angels still wear the same colors. They still ride the same motorcycles. They still carry the mythology of rebellion and brotherhood. But the man who once walked among them, whispering strategy and asserting dominance, left a legacy that ensured they would never be the same organization again. So, what truly changed the Hells Angels forever? The brilliance of one man, or the enduring system he created? Perhaps it was both. Arabaci's vision outlived him even when he was behind bars, and his network continues to operate long after he left German soil. It is a reminder that power can be quiet, methodical, and invisible, yet infinitely more effective than the loud chaos many expect from outlaw life. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Do you believe the Hells Angels were changed more by Arabaci's cunning, or by the structure he built? If you enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden world of organized crime, make sure to like and share this video with fellow true crime enthusiasts. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories from the shadows of history, where the line between legend and reality is always blurred.